Hey guys, this is Brad, and just coming to get a game in. I'm thinking this may be one of the last few games that I'm posting for a while. As you guys noted in my previous videos, I said I was moving. I have successfully moved, and I'm expecting, I will be starting a new job next week, which I think is going to be a little bit demanding on time. But let's see if we can't get a few games in. So my opponent is FAH underscore Q2. They're provisional 1404. And I'm opening up with my standard D4, to which they played E6. We might be able to get a Nimzo Indian or Queen's Gambit decline or even a Tarrasch. So it's quite a flexible move, but not really staking much out in the center. Not a huge fan of this, and the reason being is when you move your queen out so early, you become susceptible to other moves that attack the queen while allowing you to develop with tempo. So, for example, when the queen comes here to h4, I can now bring my knight out to f3, and I'm going to hit it with tempo, and I'm developing a piece at the same time. So let's see where they go next. I barely, while we're waiting for their move, I have really enjoyed making these videos. I feel that they've been hopefully not just informative for you, but I know that I've found them quite useful myself. I think I was able to see kind of in some of the games I didn't necessarily post because I lost, and the only reason I want to make these videos is to be informative to you guys. So if I'm losing games, I had the feeling that I wasn't playing as well as I should have been, or maybe the content I would have put out was not so informative, so I chose not to air it. But I got to see kind of some of the flaws in my own thinking. So really what I'm doing now is I'm trying to control the center with my pawns on d4 and e4. My knights are doing a really good job as well, controlling the squares of d5 and e5. And you see they're running around with their queen, but they haven't made much in terms of development. So the very first thought I can see is that they're both trying to gang up and attack this pawn here. And I'm thinking if maybe I just want to in turn develop to bishop d3. Or I'm also considering if I want to press with d5. I think probably also I need to contend with the fact that they might bring their bishop out here. So I think probably for that reason, maybe if bishop d3, bishop b4, and then maybe I can consider doing that, and I'm be one move away from castling. If they do play bishop b4 here, it might not be such a clever idea for me to immediately press d5, because after we have an exchange, let's say if I were to exchange, they say E captures D, and then I were to take C captures D, they would then have a bishop the bishop should be here. No, I shouldn't use that. The bishop here and the queen both pointing down on this square. So as an in-between move, they might take with the bishop first with check, and then if the pawn recaptured, then the queen would take that pawn afterwards with check. But they didn't do that. So let me go ahead and just castle, complete my development, and now start making some ideas about attacking. So now I want to open up their position. And it would be nice to try and prevent them from being able to castle. So now like a move like d5 or e5 has a lot of weight to it if I can especially get, let's say, a rook over to putting pressure on their king. So if your opponent neglects development, you should try to exploit that by playing actively and then open lines up. Okay. And now I want to try to prevent black from being able to castle. And also I do have this idea now of playing c4 with bishop b5. All right. Unfortunately, that's just losing outright with mate in 1 now. All right. So let's go ahead and see if we can't get another opponent. Oh, they said huh. In other news, how's everything going with you guys? Life for me seems to be going quite well. I've recently got a few planter boxes for my balcony, started growing some lettuce, kale, and peas. Been exploring the new town that I'm in, really enjoying it. Found the local chess club here, started playing some chess kind of in the downtown area. Some people just play kind of some pickup games, so started playing that. Hoping to join a local soccer league and get my first game in on Sunday. We're playing Envy Eternal L, a 1490 player. And it looks like they might try and take this into some sort of a French. Or this could even be considered like a fantasy variation of the Caro-Kann, which I admittedly know nothing about. I think I'm just going to try and induce this weakness here. Interestingly, they didn't play that. So I think I'm just going to try and develop. And if they capture it here, I'll give check, and then I'll recapture the pawn. So white has given up the opportunity to castle, and let's make sure we don't fall into that same trap. So let's get the bishop out. So what is white's idea? They probably want to force me to move. But let's try and force them if they want to take to help us get a good pawn center. Although you might imagine a variation like queen captures queen, and then C captures D, F captures E, D captures E, with finally, no, the bishop couldn't come in yet, so just trying to, I guess, limit the squares around white's king right now. I think still white is lacking for play. Maybe they'll play b4, but that seems quite weakening. Kind of my next moves that I want to get in is capturing and then rook over. So let's start that plan. And now how does... Yeah, let's see how they hold everything together here. So next I'm just threatening f6 or even queen g4. He is applying some pressure there. So right now I kind of pinned my own piece, but I don't think it's too terrible. I'm expecting this pawn push, and then I'll just move my king over. Yeah. I think white's in a bit of trouble. I don't know where they want to move their king. That's interesting. Note that my bishop is guarding this square, so they can't play queen over. I still have this idea of a discovery as well. Bishop c3 with a discovered check on the king, and then my queen can actually capture the bishop, and that'll be mate. So they need to be careful of that threat. So they sidestep it, which is very good. However, they're still pinned. Still have a pinned piece. Very interesting. It's like they've exchanged one pin piece for another, which is quite cool. I need to develop this final piece. It's really holding me back, to be honest. Maybe knight a6 is what I need with the threat of hitting at that. Thankfully for me, that just blunders the piece. And they still can't take the b6, b7 pawn, as that would just leave checkmate in the air. I think white's pretty much obliged to trade queens one way or another. Let's see how they choose to go about this. While we're waiting, I'll mention that I recently purchased the book Capablanca's Best Chess Endings. It's a complete 60 game book by, I think, Chernev. And so far it's been extremely good. And I mean, oh, this is a cool little mate. So this is gonna be mate right here. Um, it's extremely good, especially if you're interested in improving on your endings. But it still has very good annotations over the entire game. So if you're interested in improving your end game, but also want to see how they get to that end game in particular, it's a great book, and it was quite cheap, like $7 from used from a bookstore. So this could be something similar to a Nimzo Indian if they play knight f6 here. Into that, I like to play knight ge2 with the idea of playing a3, and then if they recapture, or if they capture, I'm getting the bishop here without having to compromise my pawn structure. And now I think kind of one of the typical ideas is maybe like maybe b6, and they play bishop a6, and they try and gang up with the bishop and the knight and attack this pawn here. And I want to try and get my pawns in the center rolling, so I'll play bishop d3, and I think it's queen e2. Okay, so now if I were to play queen e2, I might look a little silly after c captures d, e captures d, and then d captures c, and the queen would be looking right here at that pawn that's all alone and unguarded. So I think instead I might want to capture here first. If they do take back, that would open up the light squares for the bishop, but I could also, and after that, give them an isolated pawn by capturing here. Nope, not an isolated pawn. Maybe it'll just be more of a symmetric type position. So right now, I don't think I've played the opening stellar. Undoubtedly, white had equalized. However, now that just drops a pawn. After knight captures, pawn recaptures, bishop captures. That's just an oversight on their part, and I'm hitting at this rook here. So that's a tactical misstep on their part. This was a particularly bad move because it really just weakens that diagonal, the a2, g8 diagonal. So now the king is quite exposed. So here's a direct consequence of that move, playing f5, is that I can now bring my bishop here to d5, with check, and then I can, after they move their king away, capture the c-pawn. So now my plan is to try and activate my dark square bishop. I'm thinking of moves like b4 and then playing bishop b2 with this idea of f3 and e4 coming into play. So I'm contemplating right now if I want to retreat the bishop or if I want to play here and then exchange. I think I'll pull the bishop back here, play my bishop to b2, bring my rook over to c1, and get my queen to e2, and then try and enact this plan. So they want to hop into that square there, which makes a lot of sense. But it's not going to interfere with my plan. They might play bishop b7. And right now everything's looking good. Notice that my bishop is here on b2 looking at the g7 square. So a move like rook c7 would be very strong one day. Also, I'm looking at this move of rook c5. So this is kind of the piece configuration that I had in mind when I took that kind of brief pause. Pretty much the only threat that I can see is that white's bishop and the queen are bearing down on this square here. So I think this should be slightly uncomfortable for black, with the rook just being across from their queen, and they just overlook the fact that there's lateral movement. So that's one thing you always have to be aware of, is the lateral movement of pieces, and it can be easy to forget that from time to time. Of course, now Black is completely lost, and they should probably resign, but I won't be upset if they continue to play on. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed these few videos. And like I said, we'll see if I keep making more videos. Uh, Besides me making videos though, if you guys ever wanted to send me a message on Chess or kind of share one of your games with me, I would definitely be open to seeing that, and I would like to kind of see the progress you guys make. So don't hesitate to contact me. And yeah, happy chess, everyone. Have a good day.